All right, I'm back with another PC review, but this time we're going to do something a little bit different. I saw an article not too long ago about this, and it's called a Kamrui Hyper H2 Mini PC. Let's open this up and let's have a look at it and see what we get. The article said that it was a pretty good performer, so I wanted to take a look at it. And so I hadn't taken a look at mini PCs before, and I thought it'd be kind of a nice change of pace. And I got it from Amazon for $510. It was on sale. The MSRP I think was like $820 or something like that. Now the CPU in here is an Intel 13620H, which is a mobile CPU. And it comes with 32 gigs of RAM. It didn't specify if it's DDR4 or DDR5, so that was a question I had for it. And it has a 1 terabyte SSD in it. It has a USB 4 on it, which is interesting. And it supposedly can hook up to 3 4K monitors on it. And it has a Wi-Fi 6 on it. And yeah, it's an interesting build. I mean, look how dinky this thing is. It's really tiny, and it weighs next to nothing, maybe 2 pounds at most. The CPU is a 10-core 16-thread CPU. It obviously doesn't have a discrete graphics card on it, but let's see how it performs. It looks like here's the owner's manual. The PC, I still can't get over how dinky this thing is. And it looks like there's some kind of caution sticker right there. It says, kindly note for faster setup, avoid LAN initially. Connecting might trigger long updates, delaying desktop access. Okay. There's a DC adapter, HDMI, display port, LAN port. Looks like 5 gigabits. 4 ports for 5 gigabits. USB type A. I'm assuming it's 5, maybe 10. And 2 more up front, USB type C up front. That's probably a combo headphone mic jack and the power button. And it looks like it's got some venting on the sides. And I'm assuming in order to take this thing apart, it's under these feet right there, but we'll take a closer look at that here later. This looks like it's the AC adapter in one of these boxes. The adapter to wall outlet. These look like extra carrying screws, and it looks like a short HDMI cable. I'm suspecting that this is some kind of a mounting bracket that you can use. It is. Supposedly you can use this to mount this to the back of a monitor, and then you mount the PC to the back of the monitor with it. And I'm assuming it's with these 2 screw holes right here. I'm gonna go off screen and do some benchmarking on this and put it to the test and see what we come up with, and we'll try to take this thing apart. Let's take this thing apart and see what we really have, see if there's any room for expansions. I've never owned or worked on a mini PC before, so just a heads up on that. You and I are going to learn together how to take something like this apart. All right? I'm suspecting these feet come off. They are glued down on there. I don't really see a screw in there. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm on the right track here. So let's peel another one off in case that's like just a blank. Now, here's a lock and unlock switch. Looks like a little screw right there. Ah, Okay. So let's put the feet back on. And we got some more screws right here. All right, so there's our SSD right there with a little thermal pad on here. A Bywin M350 is the SSD. And there's this carrying screw right there. It does say it's a Gen 4 drive, but once I figure out what speed it's at, you'll see it right there. It is DDR4 RAM that's in there. So as you can see here, right there's DDR4 at 3200 mega transfers a second. And I'm having a hard time reading. So it says Kinsoten is the name of the brand. I am not familiar with that brand. If you guys are aware of that brand and know of its quality, then let me know in the comments. So it looks like there is another M.2 slot right there for expansion. There doesn't seem to be further expandability into 4 sticks of SODIMMs. So in order for you to upgrade, you would have to take these out and put higher end DDR4 RAM in there. It looks like the CPU is underneath right here. There's like a securing bracket right there. That looks like, they look like rivets actually. At least the securing bracket is permanent. And right there, looks like maybe it's the CMOS battery. It's in yellow right here. So let's right below it is looks like the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card. Maybe it somehow snaps in, and that's why it's not coming out. It is plastic, so I'm trying to be careful with it so I don't damage anything. Not wanting to come out. Yeah, I don't want to break the plastic. Okay. So you just push these open. It's got to be clipped in somehow. It is clipped in. It feels like it's clipped in. Well, that didn't do me any good. I wanted to get in on this side. Oh. Sitting kind of, it's kind of loose in there, huh? You just got to be gentle with it. There's some wires, I'm assuming for the Wi-Fi, and that's the power cable right there. Take off. Oh, and I just jacked up the Wi-Fi a little bit. Where's the fan? You know what, since I already jacked up the Wi-Fi, I'm just gonna yank that out. I need to take these screws out in order to get to the CPU. Okay, so that's what the tape was for, is to hold that fan in place. Here's some heat pipes right here for cooling the CPU. Man, getting to that CPU is a pain in the butt. So I would have to remove this cooling assembly to see the CPU. And that might not work. I would have to be willing to heavily damage this thing to get to these, because I don't see a way that it's secured on other than it being glued or even soldered on. I doubt it's soldered on. There's some heat pipes underneath these heat sinks, and it feels like that these are secured on somehow by maybe some kind of strong adhesive. It feels like if I yank on that too hard, it's going to damage these heat pipes. So I don't necessarily want to do that. Otherwise, I would have spent $500 for nothing. All right, so I guess that's as far as we're going to go, since we can't get to the CPU without doing some major damage. All right, so that's how you take this thing apart. So I'm going to go off screen and put this all back together. I don't have a soldering iron, so I don't think I'm going to be able to fix the Wi-Fi antenna, but that's okay. We'll figure something out. All right, I'll be right back. So first and foremost, I had to locate and install the Wi-Fi driver because it wasn't working, right? In order for me to get the Wi-Fi to work, I had to get the right drivers and Kamrui, and I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that name right. Kamrui, on their website, this PC wasn't showing up for any kind of downloads or anything for drivers. And so I did some searching around and I found a Lenovo Wi-Fi driver that worked, and it worked great. And I found that information on Reddit. And going back to the antenna, as you can see in the picture that I'm showing you, I used some electrical tape to fix it, and it seems to have worked fine. I know I seem to be jumping around, but there's a lot to unpack here, which is ironic considering the size of this PC. For a little more color on the size, I wish I had a banana to compare it to, but I don't. So the best second way of showing it is to show you that here is a 9800X3D CPU in the box. And as you can see, it's about the same size as the box, right? It's actually just a hair shorter than this box. As far as thickness goes, it's not a whole lot thicker when you're looking at it, right? So not a whole lot thicker. Dimensions wise, it's pretty similar to this box if you're thinking about picking up a PC like this. And I do like the size of it. It's really compact, and it's something I was kind of looking for when it comes to a PC that I could take on the road with me rather than a laptop. I wanted something lighter and more compact, and I thought this alongside a portable monitor might do the trick. I went into the BIOS, which is a really basic BIOS. There's no adjusted UI for a nice and easy way to find things. And unfortunately, it even disables the mouse. So it's like almost an old school kind of BIOS where you don't have the mouse that you can use to point and click on certain parts of the menu in BIOS. You have to use the keyboard. BIOS version was version 5.27, and that was dated late August of 2025, so it's a little bit on the older side. And I'm not sure how long this PC has been on the market, but considering that it was on sale for $510 with MSRP of $820, I'm suspecting it's been for a little while. and there was nothing on Kamrui's website to update the BIOS. I think I was kind of stuck with it. I do like the fact that this PC, no matter how hot it would get or what workloads I was using, it stayed pretty quiet. I even put my sound meter on it. Yeah, it wasn't recording any sound other than, you know, when I was clicking on the keyboard or mouse. A couple of times when I tried to power it on, it didn't seem to be communicating well with the monitor, or it couldn't find it, or the monitor couldn't read the PC, or whatever the case. I'd get no signal out on the monitor, and so I would have to restart it and then it would show up. So there was a couple times where that happened. I wasn't overly concerned with it because it would see it after a restart. You know, I'd just hit the power button and turn it off and turn it back on, and it would see it right away. To be clear, it was a 4K 160 hertz monitor, so maybe that had something to do with it. And I didn't even use the cable that this came with for the HDMI. I used my normal high bandwidth HDMI cable. Works every time on everything else, so not sure what was happening there. Let's talk about on the gaming side, and then we'll get to the productivity side. So I tried Cyberpunk 2077, and this PC wasn't having it. So I tried multiple settings and multiple run-throughs, where regardless of settings, and even at the very lowest settings, my best case scenario, I was around mid-20s on average FPS. In my worst case scenario, it was like 7 to 8 FPS on average. This thing isn't for AAA gaming, and it doesn't seem to be for current gen gaming either, because I tried Marvel Rivals and it wasn't having it because there are GPU requirements for that game, and so this iGPU is not strong enough for Steam or Marvel Rivals to say, yeah, you can play with it. I did do Morrowind, the Game of the Year edition, and it did well in that, and sometimes it would spike up to like over 200 FPS. You know, your older games and your lighter games and things like that, this should be fine on, but your more current gen games, your games that are requiring things like maybe a GTX 1060 or more, this PC is probably not going to work for you. So if you're gonna get a PC like this, just, you know, mitigate your expectations. I've never tried a mini PC before, so I really had no expectations. I was hoping, but I really had no expectations. So I wasn't overly disappointed, but I was kind of disappointed because I kind of wanted a portable PC rather than a laptop. So, you know, and for content consumption, I went to YouTube, and on the 4K monitor, it was really, really choppy. I tried it at multiple settings, at 4K, at 2K, at 1080p, 720p. I even did 480 and 360p, and it was getting a lot of chop, right? Except for maybe at 360p is where it started smoothing out. 480p, it was a little jittery, but acceptable, I guess you could say. Then I switched over to a 1080p monitor. It smoothed right out with a 1080p monitor. And then just for shits and giggles, I put it on a 1440p monitor, and on the 1440p monitor, it seemed to do fine at 1080p or below. At 1440p, it was acceptable. There's a little bit of jittering going on, but you'd have to be kind of paying attention to really notice it. The CPU with ambient temperature at 19C was regularly hitting the mid 70s to high 80s, and it would spike on a regular basis to 90 and 91C. Because of the size and nature of this PC, I mean, you're very limited on cooling capacity. You're going to get some throttling. And from a productivity standpoint, it was kind of acceptable. I used Shotcut which is the video editor I normally use. Normally, when I'm benchmarking a new PC or pre-built PC or PC that I'm building, I'll use Shotcut, and I'll use a long form and a short form video. So 20-minute long video and a 5-minute long video of the same video. And then I would test the export times. This PC on the long form video took 19 minutes 49 seconds for it to export, and on the short form video it took 4 minutes 38 seconds. That's pretty acceptable level of performance, especially when you take into consideration the newer gen hardware in the PCs that I've recently tested. They would average anywhere from 11-ish minutes to upwards of the low 13 minutes. As a matter of fact, the most recent pre-built PC that I used, which had a 7900X and a RTX 5080 in it, that one on the long form video took about, I think it was well over 15 minutes, right? So comparatively, it's not a bad thing as far as this is concerned, because that PC was almost $2,000, right? And this is $510. Pretty acceptable performance on video editing exportation. I also tested it on Cinebench R23, and on the multi-core score, it came out to be 14,537, I think it was the result. And on the single core, it was over 1,800 points. And I'll show you a screenshot of its comparative results to other CPUs, and it did unexpectedly well in that. Of course, it is a synthetic benchmark. If you just use something like that and you just have it in a vacuum, then it's not really going to mean a lot. But as it relates to the performance of other CPUs and how those CPUs perform in other productivity things, it gives you a good idea of what you're looking at. This 13620H CPU performed unexpectedly well, so I was kind of happy about that. I also used PC Mark 10 from 3D Mark. There was nothing outstanding about it, and there was nothing disappointing about it. It performed within the expected values, and I'll show you a screenshot of that. And I looked up the relative results for this PC versus other PCs to see how it compared. And again, nothing disappointing and nothing outstanding about it. Within the expectations of this particular PC, more specifically this CPU. Then I used the Passmark test. It finished within the 45th percentile, which means that 55% of all PCs tested on that benchmark did better. But the thing that held it back the most was the iGPU performance. So the 2D rendering, the 3D rendering. The CPU did fine, the memory did fine, and the SSD did fine. Interestingly enough, and I'll show you some pictures here, the CPU performed admirably. It slightly edged out the 7500X3D, the 13400F, and the 11900K. I was pretty happy about that, considering the fact that those three CPUs are non-mobile CPUs, that two of those CPUs are more current gen. And as you may recall, on PC Mark 10, this thing slightly edged out or compared close to AMD's 7600 CPU. So yeah, it's not a bad CPU. The iGPU is where it gets held back. That and the cooling, right? Because you're gonna get throttling in a case like this. I was kind of looking for something that's portable, that I could take on the road with me, that's not a laptop. And unfortunately, this PC is probably not gonna completely get it for me, because although it be primarily productivity and content consumption kind of PC, I would like to do some current gen gaming on it. It did fine on productivity. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're looking for a portable or out of the way mini PC that's good on productivity, it did just fine, right? It's just when it comes to rendering, 3D rendering, 2D rendering, gaming at a higher level, it's just not going to work. At this price range, at around the $500 price range, $500 to $600, you could get a Lenovo LOQ laptop I found, and I think it was the 12450HX CPU, and some of those laptops come with an RTX 3050 or 2050 in it, and so that might be more along the abilities that I'm looking for within a mini PC. But the downside of that particular laptop is that you would probably take a hit on the CPU overall performance by about like 20 to 30%, I believe it was. There's a trade-off there for a similar cost point in a laptop. I'd be able to do a little more gaming, but that would be in exchange of less efficient productivity stuff, right? So there's balance there. Now, you could also get something like a external GPU dock for like $100 for a decent one, and that's kind of cost effective, but you would still also have to go out and buy a GPU, right? And so that's at least going to be a couple $100 more for at least a decent performing one. And it kind of defeats the purpose of what I was looking for in the first place, which is, you know, portability. Not to mention that now my cost point is closer to about like $800 to $1,000. And so then that also defeats the purpose of something within a smaller budget. I just needed something for when I was on the road. I am interested in the new Panther Lake CPUs that are coming out, specifically the ones that have the ARC B390 iGPU in it. Rumor has it that it will perform decently, at least at an acceptable level, on current gen games, and it's supposedly going to be pretty good on productivity. So I am interested in that, but that also brings up the problem of the budget, right? I can't expect to pay a similar price point around 500 and change. As a matter of fact, in today's market, I'll probably end up having to pay a premium for it, which brings me right back to the $800 to $1,000 range, maybe even more. What do you think? Am I expecting too much, especially for the money? Are there other mini PCs that I should try or look at? And what do you prefer? Do you prefer laptops over mini PCs? And if so, is it because it's more powerful and is portable? Or do you prefer a mini PC because, I mean, it is kind of cute, right? And it's pretty whisper quiet. It's not loud like a laptop. I was really, really, really surprised at how quiet this PC was, even under full load. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments and tell me what you guys think. And in the meantime, thanks for joining me on this review, and I hope to see you in the next one.